Hey, what's up, everybody? And hold on, I'm getting a delay on my camera, so I'm gonna have to switch over to the other camera. I had to do the mic thing too. Sorry, but give me 1 second. I don't like this as much, but
Can you hear me?
how about now?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Yeah. Or yeah, I don't even need this. I'm not using it. So yeah, I'm having a little bit of a problem here, guys. But it sounds like if everybody can hear me, we're good. And yeah, I want to thank Mike Hruby for joining me. I know I don't do a lot of afternoon stuff, you guys, but I've had Mike on twice. Always been a beneficial conversation. I've had other people tell me that they've learned a lot from him being on, and I want to first welcome him for coming on, but second, all of you should stick around and please leave comments, questions. I'm not going to check them, and except for at certain points because I want to have a conversation with Mike. And I think it's a little bit easier when I'm not sidetracked to look at the comments. But I will come in there at certain points and take a look. But Mike, thank you for joining us. I think this is our third time, and
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you, Steve. It's a delight to be here. I always enjoy our conversations and the questions, so it's nice to be back.
So when you emailed me, or when we've been, Mike and I stay in email contact, and we even when we finish one piece, we even look at like, well, okay, we'll talk in a little bit, we'll figure out the next one. um but when you contacted me this time, it seemed like with a greater sense of urgency and fear. And I know we're approaching the midterms, but it almost sounded a bit scary, the email you sent me, without getting into all the details. So I guess, like we were talking before we came on, and I was asking Mike where would be a good place to start, and he brought up DC. So I think that is a good place. Let's start there, and let's talk about, let's see where this goes, and let's talk about what's going on.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. The We've had some good news, a glimmer of genuine good news. Sunday, the fellow who is currently holding the position of probably most influential shaper of the Republican platform nationwide, the policy platform, going into the midterms in November and into the next congressional session for 23 and 24, uh, put out six major planks that he thinks the party should focus on. And the fourth of that list of six was that he wants to. His name is Grover Norquist. Many of your viewers might have heard his name. He wants to put the choice to be your own boss, restore that freedom, and restore that right uh, without condition. In other words, nationwide.
Right.
So this is a huge move. Right now, everyone in Congress is trying to is running for reelection, and you can't in this environment you can't assume anything. So Grover's setting out what he believes in his substantial 40-year experience is likely to be most important for the election of people who are pro private sector, pro personal liberty. So that was easily the best news we've had.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, yes, I have, all of us do. I have major political views. I'm an independent, and I vote in all directions. So you guys could never peg me down. However,
I never tried to, Steve. Don't worry.
yeah, no, I'm talking about everybody. Nobody could ever say you're this, you're that, because I float with the issues. I care about what I care about, and that's what I want to push for. And I think all politics aside, the biggest thing here is that we are in a dangerous area right now. I don't know how else to say it. That the I need the all independent contractors should need to know this, because look at how we talked about this before. Look how AB5 slipped past them all until it was actually a law. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
just, nobody really, if the few people that did hear about it didn't believe it would happen, the rest of the people had no idea it was even happening. And now to think that it's not going on everywhere, actually, it's very visible. It's going on everywhere. Massachusetts, Washington
Yes.
State. I mean, it's becoming like too many states now. Now I hear about new states all the time looking at these same horrible ideas. I'm beyond myself. And Mike is the president of New Jobs America .com, and I just want to, I'll be throwing that up on the channel a little bit here, but I mean, yeah, you sent me all kinds of stuff on like the 87,000 IRS agents. I've like looked into this, and this is um it's just sickening to me
Yes. This
because
is
it's almost like, it's not even almost like, it is that they're already targeting a group of people that don't need to be targeted.
yes. Yes.
So these 87,000 agents are being trained to go after people who can't afford to be gone after, won't
Yes.
be able to explain anything that they're looking for in answers,
Right.
and are going to be fined and all this stuff. And it's all going to be because of the way things have been handled in this country. But why not start at the top, work your way down? Why start at the bottom to just above the bottom and work your way up?
Because the progressive plan is to eliminate all of those people as anything other than union wage earners. So they just don't want you. If you drop out of the market, that's fine. It shrinks the labor market, raises the price of labor uh, to meet the demand, and they'll easier to take their piece off the top. So it is, and that is not a partisan issue. I
Right.
think the last 10 years, the IRS might have earned a little more grudging respect than it did, because it seemed to leave most of the honest people, or those endeavoring to be honest.
Hmm.
It left them alone. You did not hear the complaints you heard 15 or 20 years ago when they were all active, doing lots of audits. So it's got to be looked at as a major step backwards if you respect government and feel that it should, that it should earn the trust of the people that it's trying to govern.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree.
And
It seems to me like this, and I know that I'm not really is the rollout saying that the 87,000 agents will be what, active within a year or 2 years, I think, or something. So it's not like they're out tomorrow, but nonetheless,
I think they'll be out on January 2nd. I don't know. Last night I saw a horrifying video, a video of a training session where they had 20 people who were clearly out of shape, didn't really know how to handle a firearm, with vests and IRS big letters all over them, and toting weapons, and they were entering an office building that was they were pretending was a private residence, and it was horrifying. I lost a great deal of sleep about it, because an individual cannot defend himself or herself from this onslaught. If 9 people come into your home aiming a gun at you
mhm,
and yelling at you, this is your home.
yep.
You don't, you know, the government has no place in that home without a warrant or anything else. And that's a horrifying thing. It will hit everyone it touches just as badly, just like AB5 did.
Yeah.
And and now they'll just, what they'll do, they'll be assigned the lowest level of IRS responsibility, which is chase 1099s and 1099K recipients, and then audit both ends of audit both ends of them. So I did some math. It'll be each agent, if the agent works full time, a big if, can give a half hour of attention to every single self-employed business person in the country. Just like craziness. Nothing else gives you that much coverage. So it's
I mean,
disturbing.
isn't it also disturbing that what is, I mean, so okay, so the part of the goal is to make sure that people, you can't be IC anymore. Well, I just got hit with this, with these new agents. I owe this. I got to get a W-2. I got to be a union worker. Um, can't uh I also I got to mention this. I was reading that these IRA, I don't even know why this came up. I read it in two articles that these IRS agents carry guns. Why do
Yes,
they need to say that? Why do they need to say that? Because if you walk into my house, I have guns.
it's intimidation. It's a tactic. That's why they're showing these videos. They don't show videos of soldiers training at Paris Island. Uh,
Right.
but here you are. They're shouting and yelling, and people are screaming instructions at them at the same time. Um, they're doing it to intimidate people. They want them to not take their allowed, not pay what's allowed, be, be worried about being audited, fear a knock on the door. I mean, this is not what a government of the people, by the people, and for the people should be training its citizens in. So it's appalling behavior. Has nothing to do with party. That's not what.
Right. No, I know. And that's both. I mean, all this always happens. Both parties always take advantage of what they can, especially around midterms or elections and whatnot. But I mean, this stuff and other stuff also that's been going on just seems so over the top. I mean, it seems
Yes,
like anybody should see this.
yes,
That's one thing that really confuses me is it doesn't seem like shades of gray. Well, you could argue this, you could I really don't see what you could argue about a lot of what's going on. It's very clear. It's not shades of gray. It's black and white. It's real clear.
it's part of an agenda, and the agenda has none of the needs of regular everyday people. I'll consider myself in that mix. Were considered in any part of the agenda. None of it. So it is external. It's forced upon us.
Yeah.
So, it's our responsibility collectively to push back to the extent of our ability. I'm not asking anyone who has 8 IRS agents aiming guns at them to misbehave, to do anything other than stand stock still and keep your hands up. Uh, but what you do afterwards, in terms of reaching the people who are responsible for this, that is your freedom and your responsibility.
So here's a comment from Lisa, the driven mom, that she's seen some of these videos.
Yes, I think it's gonna. Thank you, Lisa. I think, in fact, the agents are going to be a hazard to each other as much as to the citizens. In fact, there are more of them, and they all want to get in the door because that's how they meet their quota. Um, so I think it's just frightening, and it's going to stop. This is not the kind of thing this nation puts up with. Period. Full stop.
Well, and that's what I guess I'm. So if this is going to be like, so the old thought of at least when I was growing up, my dad, used to tell me you don't get audited, then it's this whole sit down. Like now you're talking about more like it reminds me more of like the smash and grab that's gone on since the pandemic. Like they're going to smash and grab your house for an
Right,
audit, like without warning. Like
and
go
they
kick in the door and say we're sitting down for an audit right now. Well, most Americans who are armed aren't going to tolerate that. I mean, I see bad things happening.
I do too. And I believe that is actually the pretext for more bad things afterwards. So um, I think that one of the things that Mr. Norquist said in his article that where he announced his positions was that those IRS agents should consider this a short-term gig. Because the minute anyone else gets their hands on any part of the tiller in DC, they are not going to be part of the program. It's just like no one is going to put up with this.
I
And
just feel like, you're gonna have the hardcores pulling guns back on you,
yes,
and you're
that's
gonna be a freshly trained IRS agent, like shaking to get your gun, and they're gonna have it in your mouth.
right, right. This is, and
And you can step right back out of my house, man, and you can
right.
pay for that door you broke.
So I don't want.
I'm
I
not
don't.
condoning it. I'm just saying I foresee bad things with this, not just because of what they're doing,
Yes,
but because of who they're gonna try and do it to.
I believe it's a deliberate provocation, Steve. Genuinely, and I have no. It's not where I started with any of this. So
Yeah, and I guess it just leads me to wonder, like, again, I'll just state this because this isn't taking a political side, but I don't understand why either side would want to be in on this.
I don't believe that the individuals who agreed to this genuinely believe it's in our best interest. I think they were browbeaten. I think some of them were threatened personally with being primaried or with losing status or whatever it is that some of these people work for. But I think they were told your career is over if you resist this bill, and I believe the facts are every single Democrat in Congress, both houses, voted for this bill, and they don't believe that. Even I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
ancient cinema, you know,
There's good people on both sides of the aisle. No
I
matter
agree,
which side you sit
I
on,
agree,
there's good people on both.
right? So this is
And therefore, what you're saying is exactly that those good people aren't not good people now. They still are. They just got whatever it is that was held over their head or whatever used against them, got them to push
right.
into some. I mean, that's how things work anyway. But I think this should have been one though, where I feel like those people who feel threatened, like this might take away from my next run, still should have said no.
I think they had more power than they wished to exercise, and they
Right.
chose. That's a choice. That's a choice, and I believe their voters will recall that. So, uh,
I guess that's where I'm shocked, though. I'm shocked that they didn't step up and go, I'm sorry, I've let you bully me on some other things or make me make this decision because you've said this is the way I need to lean. But this one seems like, no, I'm not, absolutely not going to do this.
a guy I respect, when I first got involved in lobbying the legislature, said, "If you're looking for courage, you're not going to find much in the legislature." And I have laughed at that ever since, and it is very true. That is not where the courage is. Uh, so anyway, I don't want people to get discouraged, but I think it's important that they take a close look at some of their presuppositions, like I always vote a straight ticket, and it's that sort of thing. I don't think that's the right thing to do this election, no matter which way you're looking.
Yeah, I've always said don't do that to people anyway. Like, a straight ticket usually is like it's like a hidden agenda. It's
Yes, right.
of course they want you to vote straight ticket. Either party does.
Yeah. Well, here in Massachusetts, I don't think I can think of one exception. Never voted for someone who actually ran and won in this state. And then when I did, I was sad about it. So, this is just a tough state because there's so many people who believe the same thing identically, and they all serve. So, and there are
Yeah.
many other states. I know we have California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey. The list runs on. Minnesota's headed in that same direction.
Yeah.
So,
I even saw Pennsylvania.
yeah,
Um, I
they're
don't know how close they are, but I was surprised because I hadn't heard much about that.
balanced on a knife edge down there.
Brandon, thanks for that comment. I appreciate that because yes, if you pay your taxes, you should be able to have a business.
Yes, everybody who works on gigs, project work, and it wants to be their own employee should pay their taxes. This is not about that, and they should speak up. There are a huge number of people. This is a third. This is bigger than any of the parties. There are just a massive number of self-employed, and they should pay their taxes. This is not it. The money's the interference of an audit is worth literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost, and you don't want to risk it. And then they're throwing these random uh, kind of punishment aimed audits at everybody. That's very destructive. But you've got to pay the bill, and then go fight about how much you're being charged, and that's legitimate. So
Yeah. Um, so one of the things you put down was more bills likely now between now and inauguration
yeah,
of 2023. So we're talking next year.
yes.
What are you expecting? Or
I'm expecting almost, well, what just passed was called the Inflation Reduction Act, which it has nothing to do with. Plus, Biden eliminated a bunch of debt for the college students.
Oh yeah.
That's inflationary. So those two way more than cancel out. Um, I believe that we're going to see things sneaking in. What I wanted to say, that the Inflation Reduction Act is actually major chunks of the Green New Deal, which should not be part of the agenda right now. Just not. There's so many reasons against it.
Yeah.
So what I think the great minds at work at the top of the two chambers are going to repackage their elements of their favorite bills for their union patrons and see if they can just sneak them across the line in emergency form between now and the inauguration day in 2023. And I think it's going to be ugly. I think we're going to get ABC test type legislation if the IRS agents aren't already doing that.
So what, I mean, is is the Worker Flexibility Act just something to just say, hey, this is the opposite of the PRO Act, just so you know, this is how hardcore it could be? Like, or is that actually something that is really, really trying to be pushed and for real? Or was it just to kind of show people like, this is how bad the PRO Act is, this is the polar opposite, so even if you believe in this, you should realize there's some middle ground?
Let's see. Is that Representative Stefanik's original bill?
I don't know. I was seeing it a lot lately. It's the bill that basically is the polar opposite of the PRO Act. It says it basically outlines everything that we want to be.
Are you
For the major extreme though too?
Are you thinking of the Scott Stefanik and Steele's? Well, that's an amalgam for a different bill, but yes, that's the Worker Flexibility Act. There is also Senator Tim Scott's Employee Rights Act, which is much broader.
No, I think this was this one had flexibility in the term.
Okay. I have not given that a great deal of consideration because its chances are exactly zero at the moment.
And that's what I was wondering is I felt like that. Like I felt like this is zero and it came out after the PRO Act. I felt like it was just there to showcase how bad the PRO Act was. Like,
yes, and that's important because you build a coalition not in you don't build it out of being against things. You
right.
build it partly and over the long term by being for things that people value, which is why we did our Be My Own Boss. I mean, we're against the PRO Act, but how much traction is there over 10 years in that? But if you say, I want to allow people to choose to be their own boss, full stop, you can assemble a crowd with that. So we've tried to do that.
Right.
So, that's why it's great. That's why Grover Norquist decides that some random Sunday in the summertime to put it in his platform, is that it has crowd appeal and people know what that means. Whether they know anything about the language, probably not. But like, that's what I want to do. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, the Norquist. So what is this? What about the antitrust and labor laws and the evidence on the is it Weil doctrine?
I pronounce it Weil. I think that's the German, but I do not know how the good professor prefers to have his name pronounced. So I will find that out.
Okay.
But what's going on is has been predicted for 8 years in a book published in 2014 by a guy who then immediately became Obama's administrator of the Wage and Hour Division in the Department of Labor. The guy's name is David Weil, Weil, and he's a professor and was a dean of a department at a major university in Boston. And he proposed in this very delicately phrased book of 410 pages total, 285 pages of text, he proposed something that was a very one-sided trial of large corporations. And for instance, he referred to it's a labor policy book. It accused large corporations of breaking down the workforce on purpose so that they could underpay people and get the costs off their books. Uh, and he calls that a crime, which it is not a crime. And then he proceeds to indict them and devise this enormous punishment, which is reputational damage to these big companies' stocks, reputations, and executives and associated individuals' reputations. So we call it the Weil Doctrine,
Mhm.
is the major headline because it's a way to fight a war, and that's what he's proposing in very delicate terms. And the subtitle is How to Run a $29 trillion Heist, because that's what's on the table when you start messing with the reputations of the top 200 largest corporations in the country. It is a piece of work, and we took 61 quotes in his words. So this is not Mike Hruby; it's David Weil we're taking a look at,
Yeah.
and then we proceeded to do our absolute best decoding it for what his group of people, and he tells us exactly who his people are, uh, what they intend to do. The Justice Department and its antitrust division, uh, just in line with this, they're formulating the team. We call it a confederacy in the write up. They're formulating a team that will attack these large corporations, and they want to use the power of all of the regulatory apparatus of the US government, which anyone will agree is considerable, and threaten them. And so, what he wants to do, the way to get these in sync and fulfill the law, is they sign memoranda of understanding between each of the departments. And then they issue a kind of a bland press release. The memorandum is bland, and they agree to sort of to work on things that are of common interest. And here we've got the antitrust division, which is supposed to be, or at least in the law, working on is somebody grabbing too much market share.
Mhm.
And what they're going to go after, according to this memorandum, is misclassification, which has nothing to do with antitrust whatsoever. It's not even laughably close. And something called fishering, which is the title of Weil's book, The Fishered Workplace. So this is nothing but a pretext for these people to perform mission creep and then threaten others with misbehavior charges and penalties. So and you can see that they signed it with. There are a couple of different agencies, but Weil lists, I think, 9 of them in his book, and the DOJ antitrust is another one. So it's everything in it is illegal. Everything he proposes is illegal, which is very odd reading it. Because if I wrote that, I would definitely have FBI on my doorstep.
Right.
I mean, this is conspiracy by government against the private sector. I mean, they're
Yeah.
trying to take it over. That it's clear what's going on. So what you can see now is they didn't get David Weil in to be the you know head of the rodeo. So sorry, didn't mean to use your imagery, but to be the master of ceremonies. They missed that. So they took the next most powerful and unsupervised person in Washington, which is the general counsel, Jen Abruzzo of the National Labor Relations Board, and they gave her she's going to be the designated destroyer. So she's going to pull all these people together and they're going to chase these big guys. And you can see what's happening at Starbucks, and you can see what's happening at Amazon and Whole Foods. You can see they're sizing up a couple of really biggies, one biggie in retail and one in online and miscellaneous. And they're just gonna hammer these people until they quit. And it seems like, oh no, they can't be doing that. But look at the street mischief, for example, that has gone on for the last 2 years during the pandemic. And then if you think of the NLRB has the power to make anything, any act, into a protected act for someone who wants to unionize. So can you imagine beautiful functioning Amazon warehouses suddenly subject to unionizing efforts? And I don't even want to describe it. I mean, these things run like a Swiss watch or a GPS system. They do the right thing all the time, and it is a menace. This is there's there is no justification for this except the law permits this kind of activity, synchronized activity, because it hasn't been specifically outlawed.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you were hitting on something a few minutes ago when you're like, if you wrote this, the FBI would be at your door.
Yeah,
That's how I feel like you and I met through Twitter, and
right.
initially, and like I feel like that's how I am with Twitter now. Like I'm very cautious of what I write. And again, guys, I'm not saying this isn't political. I just have to be very careful because you even say something wrong about the wrong subject. You could be Democrat, you could be whatever you want, wouldn't matter. But if you say those wrong terms on Twitter, you're gone.
Yes, very, very. We're doing a graceful, what you call it, diversification of our communications channels, because Twitter has become very hostile. And all we're promoting is that individuals have the right to be self-employed. Like, this is not radical. This
Right.
is
And if it's that, why isn't it, we're not allowing this talk. So don't allow either side.
right.
But I mean, like you're allowed to jump on one side of the train and shout everything you want.
Right.
But you can't have, and again, not political, but you can't be on another side of a topic. You can't. If you do, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to.
Twitter is the third platform that we've worked with in new jobs that is really falling into its own kind of circling confusion. They don't know how to control their own um, political correctness. They don't have there's no line that is a barrier to them. So they don't know where to stop. They don't know if they're going to be criticized by their political peers. So they're as afraid as we are. They err on the side of, well, get rid of these people if they disagree with us, and they have a little bunch of litmus tests. But we have to de-emphasize a perfectly good, very enjoyable blogging platform, because they're messing it up. You can look at it, the whole thing. We've gotten a lot more subscribers lately, followers, and now we have to reduce how much we do, because they feel that that's a threat. So they throttle us back, and if we want any circulation at all, they want to charge us cash for it.
Yeah.
Well, free on one side, cash on the other. What have they done? They've privatized speech. I can have how much ever much I want to buy, if it
And
passes.
they've also publicly allowed bribing.
Yes, right.
I mean,
Yeah, I can get it if I toe the line. Well,
yeah.
no, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So Facebook went first. We did that in 2016, and then Google, and they went the same way. All of a sudden, the whole thing collapsed on people with a point of view that they thought affected the law. I mean, we haven't changed any laws yet, but we're working on it. But we're doing it the legitimate way. Get people interested and talk to your representatives.
So I saw you put one of the points that you gave me was picking up new platforms to augment Twitter.
Yes.
What are you thinking here?
Parler and Telegram first. They're not as big. They're not as attractive, but Twitter is shrinking, just shrinking.
Oh, yeah.
We used to think 238 million. That was their million average daily users. Now it's down to 19 million.
Yeah.
Well, that means that Telegram's getting up there. I haven't compared the numbers closely enough, but Telegram's getting up there, and it's just as close. And there's no effort made to suppress views like ours on Telegram. So we have to pick up with something. We can't just sit there and type at home.
Right. And I mean, to be honest too about the Twitter thing, guys, again, I mean, this kind of is political. It's both sides leaving Twitter.
Yes.
Because both sides are leaving because they know there's no real conversation that can be had.
Right.
Like, even if you're sitting on what Twitter considers the correct side of an issue, you can't go have a conversation with like Mike, because then Twitter will kick you off for
talking with Mike,
speaking with him.
Right.
It's just, I'm on there because I think it's a good way to get quick news, but I'm extra cautious about what I say on Twitter.
I have liked Twitter for years, because if you set it up like a newspaper of your own devising, it's just excellent.
Exactly.
Nobody does it as well. Some guy on the street, some gal in a meeting, they give you the news in seconds, and you know that it's going to be on Twitter, or you used to know.
Right.
Now you don't anymore. So if I want someone's stale, scripted view of the planet, I can go there, but that's not what I'm looking for. I want real life events and opinion, and I want it hot, just like ready to go.
And I can tell you guys that if you have a Twitter handle, haven't used it in a while, or even if you do, don't abandon Twitter. There are people like Mike, myself, Kim, Kevin, still on there. Find us, connect with us. We're picking away at it all the time. Just being extra careful about what we write and making sure that it's factual and whatnot. But there's a lot of other people who aren't. I'm gonna go back here in the comments just a little bit and see because it looks like there's a bunch in here. Let me see. Hey, Bud Soda. Hello, John Lopez in Illinois. How are you?
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm delighted to see they have it.
Okay. So John said the worker flexibility is by.
Yes, that's Representative Cuellar from Texas, Representative Steele from California, and Representative Stefanik from New York. It's a good act, right? Yeah. It doesn't solve the problem the way I would, but that's fine. Yeah, good. Yeah. Let's duke it out verbally.
Hey Joe, how are you? Nice to see you in here. Hey Donnie, what's up with you? What do you got here? Open up your own app business. Give out your phone number. It's not rocket science. We're diving a little deeper into there, trying to just take away that right, even though to even have the right to open up your own app.
Hey, think about how to program. Think of what Twitter does and how the programming behind all the different things you can do on your page, and then and remark on it. It's quite amazing. That's a lot of code they've got cranking through there. They claim to have a lot of code that does other things that don't happen, but that's different. Anyway, I respect what they did. I'd love to just keep using them, but they're casting me adrift in my little dinghy.
So, do you have any take on this? He lives up in upstate New York.
I'm aware of Representative Stefanik. She is steadfast in thinking about the little guy and the little gal. She's got a particularly affected district. She's in the district that from eastern Syracuse suburbs all the way to the Canadian border, I believe, on the west side of the Adirondacks, and that is entirely rural, and all the services that those people enjoy, and I'm sure they'd like more, are served in some way by some variation on gig work, delivery, driving, and self-employment. And it's the first thing those people should do when they want to say, we're Dave and Doris and we want to do better. It's one of them should try some part-time freelancing, whatever it is, because you can build a national or an international audience, customers, patients, whatever, and go from there. You can cover the whole area, even with a nurses organization, travel nurses. So,
I just speaking of that, I just recently saw, I'm always looking for new apps and whatnot. I just saw an app that allows you to be a registered nurse, travel around and pick up gigs anywhere in the country.
Do you remember the name?
No, I have it. Yeah, I can send it to you. but I don't have it right in front of me right now. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was super cool. Again, it allows people to like go. I've been, if you're a nurse, it allows you to, maybe you haven't been able to see family this whole pandemic. I thought that's really cool. This allows you to go see family for a month and work while you're there.
Yes, right. No, it is phenomenal how valuable the idea of contract work is to the American public, and they know it. This is essentially the golden age of the free market, because you can deliver services with people in the area and overcome the problem of distance in a physically gigantic republic. I mean, this is one huge country, 1,500 miles north and south, nearly 3,000 left to right, plus two isolated states, and you've got to cover where everybody lives, and they've been spreading out for 60 years. And to be able to do that and have it available to anybody on a phone is phenomenal, just phenomenal. I think I've told your readers, you get up 4:30 in the morning, you want to get to the Portland, Oregon airport. There's a guy who specializes in early morning departure customers. And now that's a specialty. One city, basically, one hub and a lot of different routes custom for you. You can reserve him. There's no other way you could do that without a platform. So you don't hear any customers complaining about Uber. You hear union and union paid people complaining about Uber, but it's genius. Now they're doing the same thing with freight. My goodness, these truckers who need every buck they can make, fill up their truck. Uber is offering them a way to, when they go from A to B, when they need to come back from B, go on the platform, look for loads that are going part of the way or the whole way, and bring them back. Now they're loaded. Now they're doing what everybody wants, which is making money both ways in transportation. It's mathematically rare that you have something like that makes money both ways. So I'm all for it. People who live in rural areas like Stefanik's district are all for it, and it's a lot of territory.
So I saw something that said that, there's everybody, we start hearing the polling numbers now and take them for what they're worth. But I saw something that said that, it seemed across the board too, that it was pretty much in agreement amongst the polls that, beware of what you're seeing, because there's way more Republicans onboarding to vote, getting ready to vote, than are Democrats. And that's just how I'll word it. But that these might be very skewed because it's like 3 to every 1 right now.
Yes.
So I guess I wonder, like, how close are these polls that are making it sound close? And again, don't let yourself think they're close. Even if you don't agree with me and Mike, go vote. Everybody needs to vote. But I have a feeling that it's going to be a very big shock. I could be wrong, but I think there's going to be a lot of shocked people with some of the results in these midterms.
I believe so too. I think that there is enormous fatigue with what's being done to them, and it has nothing to do with a difference in fatigue between parties. I think there's a great deal of fear, and people don't like that. We've got neighbors who disagree with us, and I'm sure they fear us, and we are not quite sure about them, because of the way the treatment goes. That is all all unnecessary. And I encourage anybody of any persuasion, go vote this election season. Vote early, vote on time, whatever. But to be heard, that it's important for all of us.
Yeah, I fully agree. So I was trying to find that nurses union, but I'll have to find that later. So before I do want to talk about New Jobs America, but before we get there, you had another point to discuss is the mood of the self-employed.
Oh boy.
Worried, apprehensive. These are just your words. Worried, apprehensive, alert, uncertain what's coming, uncertain what to do. This applies to almost everybody I know in the gig economy, especially if I actually get like some real time with you face to face or on a Zoom or whatever, and we're actually talking personally. most people aren't aware of this stuff, and many, just like AB5, just don't believe that it's happening on the scale that I'm talking about. Which, if you do any kind of research on it, you will find out it's not even a hidden thing. It is on the scale I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's very large, and with the midterms approaching, it's very easy to find how much it's apparent now too. You can Google it. I mean, you can simple find it now. You don't have to dig deep into things and crawl through crawl spaces, and it's right there.
Yes, don't have to go to DuckDuckGo. It's even on Google.
Yeah, I mean, what do you put mood of the self-employed question mark. So what is
The self-employed I guess the last 3 years since AB5 came into the public space and people realized, oh, there's a threat to what I'm really enjoying, whether as a buyer or a provider. I think that people got edgy when they saw how much work was being done against them, and they pulled back and they were quiet. And I think that you have to look at much of the effort against the freelancers, the gig workers, is condescension, and an effort to intimidate them from making their opinions known. I think that that's the only way you can interpret it. And so by being resilient and simply making your opinion known and making it effective in voting and in participating, give $5 to somebody and support them for office, your choice of candidate. But I would try not to be one of the 98% that don't give anything and then complain about it.
yeah.
So that has, I think they have the opinion, Steve. I think it's strong. You're agreeing with that point. And I think they're waiting to find a way to release it. They've never had to fight to defend their right to have the job they enjoy. And I think of moms and people with disabilities and retired folks. They're looking at what's happening with inflation, and they go, Bet, I think I got to do work a little longer because we're not going to make it at 5% or 10% inflation. We'll be broke before we're done. Those people will look to the internet. They will look to part-time work, contract work, and they should. So this is a great thing, and the Americans are not used to having to fight to get what is available to Americans. Same with gas and oil. They're taking gasoline and fuel oil away from us for mythical reasons, and people are like, why is that? This is our oil as much as, the environmentalists' oil, maybe more because there are a lot more of us. And that kind of edginess, they're in uncertain times, and they're not sure what to do because, like, this is what I've done for 20 years, and so I'm familiar with the fact you just got to get out there and say it,
Yeah.
And I see the driven mom, and she's still driving, but she's still staying with us. Thanks. You get very empowered when you put your thoughts out there and people go, yeah, that really is, that's how I feel too. And they're being honest with you because they got a heck of a lot more problems than you have, and they want to be independent. They want freedom and flexibility. They want better things for their kids. What we've got coming is an enormous driven mom. It's just an enormous part of the population, and they're going to get it. They're going to get it one way or another. And if it's not the election of 2022, it'll happen. Just guaranteed. It's that kind of country.
And then there's Brian here saying that, I'm here experiencing a crime wave in Portland. I've interviewed a couple of drivers from Portland who were in the riots who are just like, dude, it was just the most insane, messed up stuff. Trying to avoid the city. And then, there's Eric here saying that crime wave is a ripple effect. I mean, I don't even know what to say, you guys. I get so confused when all I hear is defund the police, and then the same people who shouted it are now saying fund the police. I mean, pick a lane. Pick a direction. Not even pick a lane. Pick a direction, people. Like, I don't even.
None of this is rational, Steve. None of what's up. It's extortion. We saw that's what the Weil doctrine is about, how to extort what you want out of something that doesn't want to give it. You know, it's wrong. It's illegal. We don't have any adults in charge of anything now. There are two office holders, the mayor of Portland, Oregon, and the governor of Portland, Oregon. Neither one is an adult in terms of responsibility and wanting to see that the general public is served. They're serving an agenda. So that those days are going to come to an end one way or another. I you know, like I I lose sleep over this too. God, they're not
Yeah.
going to do this.
Well, I saw that, John. I saw that you put, "Love it when people can safely text and drive." So the driven mom and the driven dad, Tony and Lisa, I know them very well. They live here in Colorado. In fact, they were just in my house because we do a thing called Coffee in Colorado on Wednesdays. And so they drive a Tesla. So they're actually not driving. They're at a charging port right now. So
Okay, good.
yeah, so
I figured there were two of them from what they said.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. So I think that we should bring this all together with New Jobs America, because
Okay,
this is your passion project. This is what you're doing.
that's what I'm.
Um, what what sh- what can people do to help with New Jobs America? What can they expect when they land, if they take the time to go to the website? What can they, because a lot of people hear this stuff and they say, okay, I'll go visit it later. Why should they get on it so that they remember to do that? I want to stick this in their head so that they don't forget, oh yeah, it was something I don't really remember.
Well, we have with the Weil Doctrine paper, and it's a chapter length analysis because we want it to be fair and we want it to be resilient for the people that are going to rely on it. We have that. It's on the website now, and it's in pre-publication mode, but all the letters are there. You know, it doesn't have to be edited. That tells us that we are in the grips of a basically a gang attack, a confederacy, a rebellion against the laws that we all live by, everyone who's living by, you know, listening to this program and participating, we're all living by the same rules. The other side is not, and they're doing an illegitimate thing. And it's important to find these things out, even if it's unsatisfactory bad news, because in order to plan your life and how you spend your time, your resources, your energy, and your affection, you have to have the facts in order to do it. We did our best to lay them out. If they want to be informed about new events, briefly and without promotion, just sign up as a member on our website. First tab is join. Just give me your email. We'll keep you in touch. There's a lot coming down the pike, and I want anybody who wants to enjoy it with us to have it accessible.
So what I want to add to that too is that all of you gig workers who watch these channels, who want the flexibility and freedom to multi-app, to work when you want, to work how often you want, to work around your schedule, all the things that we enjoy, even if you weren't an independent contractor before the gig economy, because I think a lot of people get confused who were W-2 their whole life, and then the gig economy came around and they're like, oh, this is independent contractorship. I think a lot of them don't really fully understand it. And that's not a diss. I just think it's still like, it's almost an unclassified spot. Like and they're having a little more trouble understanding independent contractorship and what it truly means.
A lot of this, Steve, I agree. And in a sense, the system that has been imposed on us is demanding that they be sophisticated philosophers about law and the economy. And that has never been a requirement to get a job and to contribute something that everybody wants, or at least somebody wants. So, I mean, I think about the same thing. I like this. You get really deep in this stuff about, you know, the contract laws, 500 years old. So you have to go back to the Italians, you know, and think they dreamed this up because they need investment that's protected. They need to provide protection for it. So that's the same thing that's affecting contracts between individuals and buyers. So, but that should not be normally a requirement of getting a job, being a babysitter, down the street, and working nights and weekends, taking care of people's kids, just and that's what the other side's proposing with the IRS 1099-K.
Yeah.
So I guess be informed. If you have a spare 10, 50, 100, there's a real quick square donate button. You just follow it. It's really easy. We just put it in new. It'll go all to this battle. So
So I guess what I am trying to say to people is that if you want all of this, though, that we've been having in the gig economy, that behind the scenes a lot of people aren't aware is is very quickly a lot of people trying to take it away from us. And if it gets taken away, it's going to happen so quickly you're not even going to know it happened. So to that I say, that's why you need to go to a website like this and hear from Mike. Just sign. I mean, even just to sign up, get newsletters, because this will keep you informed. That was part of the problem with AB5, is things like this weren't started before that happened to keep everybody up to date. And by the time they were, it was so late that it was already passed and it was going to go into effect.
Yeah.
By the way, the Bud Soda, good friend of mine again from upstate New York, he's saying that you should be a correspondent. And he was saying that the comments are super interesting and that
chill judging the bull. I guess that's a compliment. Although I don't think my bride would call me chill, but I really appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, even there's the driven mom saying, love those videos.
No, I'll tell you, Steve, I work for nothing for the best people in the country. They are fantastic, and they never let me down. They'll always tell me, where to get off if I make a mistake, and I treasure the feedback. I treasure the support. I couldn't be happier doing what I'm doing.
Thank you, Jackie. Jackie lives in Michigan. She just signed up on your site.
I really appreciate it. Pass the word around and get involved. It's fun, actually. And if you know a little about your job and how it's affected, you know more than the legislator that you're going to talk to. So it's not that they know everything. If they knew everything, they wouldn't be legislators. No, they just know how to, there are better paying jobs. They make like 150, 170. If you know everything, you go to Wall Street or, buy real estate or try to rent it or something, Anyway, Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people. I'm guessing that I'm guessing the driven mom, the driven dad, Bud Soda, I'm guessing all these people in here. Actually, I know all of you. I'm expecting all of you to sign up for this. So, I mean, you guys, I've talked to every one of you. We don't want to work under franchise model. We don't, like in Massachusetts, it's actually being considered to do what they tried in California, Uber and Lyft and stuff, just leave the state.
Yeah, that's what
they're actually looking at it. And you guys can say, no, they're not. They are. They're looking at leaving the state.
No, it's the rational thing. If you can't operate your business, you're not going to starve to death. I mean, you'll go to Nova Scotia. I don't know. Canada isn't any better.
Right.
We're meeting. One quick note. We will be meeting sometime in the near future with our individuals who are my equivalents in terms of pushing for the right of self-employment from Australia and London. And they have even a worse problem than I have. Maybe I mentioned this earlier, but their tax departments are much more formidable than ours is even now. And I would say their members of parliament or their members of the government are even less well informed about self-employment than ours are here. It's a really big deal for Americans. I bet the percentage of people who support self-employment is probably over 95%. So there's a lot of support for it here. Don't know about Britain, don't know about the UK, but there are similar problems, and they are looking to the United States for a glimmer. And that's what we did with our Be My Own Boss legislation model. That's what we're doing with statewide legislation, because there are governors who will put this law into effect and set up a challenge to the interstate interstate regulation of an in-state exchange. So there are very interesting things coming. We just got to, keep our enthusiasm, keep motivated, keep in touch. That's a big part of the next 6 months is going to be keep your channels of communication open.
Yep. So Jackie, thank you, because this is super important.
Jackie.
Driven Mom just joined. Thank you, Lisa.
Fantastic.
JJ, excellent discussion. Thank you. We try.
We do. And Steve, thank you for the opportunity to speak with your audience and to join them. This is a real treat. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, because it's people that some of these people even are just learning how affected they're going to be, and that this will destroy everything we do.
I'm the best news that I've had in 20 years of doing this is that one individual who has the willingness can make an enormous difference. And everybody says, oh, no, I couldn't do that. Those people are all experts in this, that, and the other thing. No, if you are tenacious and aim at your target and keep at it, you brush them aside very graciously and you move forward. So I have nothing but positive things to say about the power of one American individual. So
I think that's a great point as we end things here, because I think that's super important. Is that I think that's the problem, is that everybody thinks that I have no power as one person, none. And that's just not true. I think you and I have discussed this on prior ones where it's like, they don't know how to treat you. If you go in and you start talking to these people, they don't know how many you're representing, they have to treat it like you are representing 1,000, but you could just be representing yourself. And either way, they still have to give you the time of day.
Right.
Because you're a constituent who, in their mind, they have no idea. You could cause them a lot of problems, or you might not be able to do anything.
If you organize, you can tell them, we're getting a bunch of, and then people like me, because we're really concerned. And then I have 20 people in your district, or 300, or 10,000, in which case they really learn, because much of cheap contemporary politics is the question, can these people hurt me? Now that's disgusting, but it's true, because they won't move until they think you can hurt them. And I don't mean physically. I mean, can they take away my position? Can they make it hard to be reelected? Can they turn off my donors? That's just the legitimate stuff. People think about that. When you're not big in a public office, you think about small things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw them turn off methods of payment to the truckers in Canada.
Oh, that was disgusting.
I mean, we literally saw, and we not only turned them off, we saw them retract the payments.
They took the money.
Well, no, but I mean, after it had already done it was where it should be.
Right.
It wasn't even in limbo, and they pulled it back. I mean, that was people donating money that they wanted to go from A to B.
Yes.
Right. And then they said, well, wait a minute, we're not going to let B have that.
Yeah, they have no right to do that I'm aware of. Yeah, it's just theft.
Right. And I mean, I guess that, one last thing that I saw in the comments that I will end this with is that, and it's not the best thing, but is that the truckers did just lose yesterday in California.
That was an appeal. I think they have more appeals ahead.
Okay. I'm sure they do.
But road is more. I just heard the good news 12 hours ago that there is much more road ahead. Metaphor, but that's
for the better. You mean
for the better? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it's just. I mean, as far as I know, they're still I don't know if it's as hardcore, but they're still striking out there. They're blocking ports. I mean, it's a mess. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, check out newjobsamerica.com. I know a few of you have, but like the Driven Mom, Lisa, all you guys who have, get that word out there. When you guys are doing a live or something, even just a quick plug, just plug it. Just say, hey, have you guys signed up? You want to keep working on these platforms? Sign up for newjobsamerica.com, because we've got to, I get the word out there, but if more people sign up for this and emails go out, then that word spreads and spreads and spreads, and we know how this works.
Follow me on Twitter at VentureMike1, and or follow me on Parler at VentureMike.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll put both those into the show notes too after we're done. Um, I'll have to look up your Parlor one. But yeah, so yep, spread the word, guys.
That's
That
word.
is key. That is
Thank you.
key.
Let's play DoorDash.
Um, yeah, individualism, the American way.
Yep.
This is stuff that Steve posts on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, I try. And you guys, by the way, it's people like Mike who help me bring this stuff to you. So don't think that I mean, I do my own research too, but these guys really do help me tremendously with learning a lot more than I know.
And you help us, Steve, because we need to get this content and subject matter, get it out to people who are interested in it, because they can do things with it and we can do things with them, if we work together. So you're to me, you're the glue that keeps all this stuff running.
Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate the chance to participate.
I always like having you on anyway because I just like talking to you, and I feel like in an hour we debrief enough where other people are catching into it too, and it's just good for everybody. So
I enjoy it.
so yeah, I mean, in a couple months, it seems to be every couple months. Keep an eye out, guys, because Mike and I always seem to every couple months get together and do something. So probably a couple months, maybe right before the midterms. I'm sure there will be some craziness going on, and
I'm sure. We'll be there.
But
Great.
thank you, chat, for joining us, and thank you very much, Mike, for taking the time out of your schedule. Mike's a busy man fighting for us, you guys. So again, check out newjobsamerica.com. And with that, go out there and have a safe day, earn well, and realize that you have a right to be an independent contractor right now. Don't lose it.
Right.
Don't let them take it away.
Great. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, everybody.